Everyone, and welcome on the stream. This will be the very first stream of our YouTube channel. I'm very glad to have all of you guys. So the blobs are already following this from directly within the Discord on the blobs Discord. You can find the link in the description. So guys, this presentation will be about Bitcoin. It's called Bitcoin for Dummies, and we're gonna speak about a few things, about Bitcoin, and this will basically be the summary. So we will start with a chapter called Investing 101, where we're gonna be explaining basically what is investing and what mentality you should adopt while investing your money. Then we're gonna just briefly, not briefly, we're gonna go kind of in the details of what is cryptocurrency. We're also gonna be speaking about who is Satoshi Nakamoto, the creator of Bitcoin. Then after that, we're gonna talk about digital assets in World War III, because digital assets might play a really important role in this war and in the macro context that's going on right now. And we will end with how to change your life with cryptocurrency. So this presentation is basically 100+ slides of knowledge and memes you will see to understand the fundamentals of Bitcoin, crypto, the role of digital assets in World War III, and how to get the best out of it. So before we start, I would like to just make a shout out to my dear friend Crypto Killer, Mini Mitch Getting Rich. So he's the holder of Travis. He's actually the very first holder of the very first person who bought into blobs, and he's also mod on the server. He helped me throughout this journey and helped me to put this presentation together. So guys, Bitcoin, let's see how it actually works. First chapter, Investing 101. So to understand the very basics of trading, you have to put yourself in the shoes of an accountant. So please ask yourself this question. What would you do if you have $100 billion to your name? I say the $100 billion. So that's way more that you're ever gonna be able to spend. But what would you actually put this money? Like, what would you actually do with this money? Where would you put it? Let's explore some options. First, maybe real estate. Real estate is a very common investment. We hear about it very often, and obviously, like, it's been a very good asset in the past few years. So, the first thing you have to keep in mind while investing in real estate is that real estate is a productive asset, but you have to to take care of your real estate. You cannot just own real estate and make it earn you money. Real estate comes with management fees, comes with troubles, and basically, like, there is a risk that comes with it, right? You don't just need to buy an apartment somewhere or just a building or a house somewhere and it start bringing you money. You will have to you'll have to manage it, to rent it, to find people to rent it for you, maybe. But you're also exposed to some risk, to some, for example, like, I don't know, like your building going in fire and stuff. So you don't really have that peace in mind while investing in real estate, because you constantly have to take care of your assets and to keep managing it, basically. Also, real estate is perceived as a very good investing like strategy, because the price of housing has been going up and up and up only over the past 10 to 20 years. That's why the previous generation, like our parents and great parents, were used to think that real estate is the best investment out there, because the price has only been going up. But some people right now are starting to believe that we're in a bubble, that the price of real estate will not shoot up as fast as what it did so far. And this, combined to the fact that you constantly have to manage your assets, make it like a good investment, but not the best, right? Like it's not. If you had $100 billion, you would have to buy a bunch of apartments, a bunch of real estate assets, and so that comes with a lot of risk, as we explained, and a lot of management fees. So let's put real estate on the side so far. Let's speak about stocks. So discovering Wall Street is actually the day you discover Wall Street is a big day for you, for any new investor. Wall Street sounds like the place to make money, the place to just invest your dollars and forget about them. However, in Wall Street and in stocks, like in most other assets, there is a lot of volatility. And what you have to keep in mind is, when investing in a stock, you actually invest in a company. Anything could go bad with that company. Like, your asset could be going up and up for years, and one day, out of nowhere, the CEO, for example, of the company you invested in could just pass away. And so that could just result in a market crash, or in your stock crashing. And also, you have to constantly monitor your stocks. So that's also not the ideal place to put your $100 billion in. Then you might think of just leaving it at the bank. So we're talking about $100 billion, right? You might think that leaving that money at the bank might be a good solution. The bank is seen as, just a safe place to keep your money. Like, you think that you have, like, there is no upward potential, but you're actually not losing money by keeping it there and just passing it away to future generations. You think it's safe, right? However, because of the Feds, maybe some of you heard of this already, but the Feds has been printing more and more money, and so it's a matter of supply and demand. Like dollars, the US dollar, for example, is just paper, right? So in itself, it has no value. The value of the US dollar is based on so basically today's price of the US dollar is based on what people think that the price of that will go, how that price will change over time. And basically it's also linked to supply and demand. So with the past 2 years, for example, with what happened with COVID, we know that the government has been printing a lot of US dollars to answer the COVID pandemic, to answer like all the issues that came with the pandemic, and so that increased the supply of US dollars. And we've seen a crazy inflation rate over the last 2 years. So global debt levels rise to more than 303 trillion in 2021, up 10 trillion year on year. So as you can see, this is the US inflation rate, or the consumer price index, CPI, and recently on December 21, it reached a crazy level of 7% year on year. So basically, every year your money is losing 7% purchasing power. Basically, you can it's crazy, and that compounds, guys. So if you just leave it at the bank without investing, on 1 year you just lost 7% of its value. Let's explain CPI. So CPI, Consumer Price Index, let's explaining it as a child. It's an aggregate basket of stuff people need to live, like food, water, travel, housing, etc. The higher the index, the more costly it is to live. For example, on the past year, SPX, so the 500 most traded stocks and best companies in the US went down 10% year to date, while CPI went up 7.5%. So you lost 7.5% purchasing power in 1 year if you just kept it at the bank. So someone who has $100 billion, if you had $100 billion just sitting there, you lost basically 7.5% purchasing power on that. Now let's see some fake news, because with what's happening, I mean, we hear a lot of fake news, mainly from traditional media. For example, let's see this piece of news right here. CBS News shared a few days ago that the US economy has been hit with increased gas prices, inflation, and supply chain issues due to the Ukraine crisis. This is not true, guys. All these issues, whether it is the supply chain issues or inflation, has been caused only by government just acting irresponsibly with money printing. They've been printing just to solve short-term issues, neglecting the value of money over time. This, as you can see, is the US debt clock. So you can check it out at this very link right here. And basically it shows that currently the US national debt is as high as this crazy number. So it's even hard to read it, but let's say it's $30,000 trillion, which is insane. And it's actually going up and up and up every second. If you go on this link, you can see the projections for 2026 and for the following years. And because the US debt is going up and up, inflation will ultimately also follow that trend and will end up trending higher. So leaving your money at the bank is definitely not the best idea if you wanna just pass that wealth to the future generations and keep your purchasing power. So maybe gold then, you might ask, right? Gold is gold is an interesting asset. It's an interesting hedge against inflation. I mean, at least it used to be. So as you can see on this chart, this is the price of gold over the past 20 years. And this part that I selected right here started on January 1st of 2010. As you can see, over the past 10 years, so 10 years of your money invested in gold, the value for investment went up only 70%. So leaving your money investing for 10 years only brings you 71% on an asset. And as you can see, it went up and then back down, and now it's kind of up because of what's happening with Ukraine and stuff. But still, that's really not the best productivity you can find right there. Also, gold is an unproductive asset. So you cannot do anything with gold, right? Gold ultimately is just some gold, some yellow rock, right? So it's not like you can do something with it, like a house, for example, or real estate, where you can rent it out and make money with it over time. It's literally
very useful in electronic.
Yeah, sure. So you see, it's when owning gold or when investing in gold, you can basically do nothing with that. Even Warren Buffett himself said on an interview given a few years ago that gold might increase in value, but it won't do anything for you over time. So gold is not the best investment out there either. Or maybe you can find some of these interesting, but ultimately these are not the ideal investment. And you also have to think that if you had $100 billion, because I remember that this is the question we first asked, what would you do if you had $100 billion to your name? So none of this is actually an ideal solution to answer this question. And even if you are tempted to invest, for example, some of it in stocks, real estate, leave it at the bank, or gold, you are also trying to diversify and to find an even better investment. So, chapter 2, guys, cryptocurrency explained. Even though you and I are gonna dig into the details of what is Bitcoin and crypto, you don't actually need to know those details if you want to just use cryptocurrency. This is something important you have to keep in mind. Just like you don't need to know the details of what goes under the hood when you swipe your credit card. And although many people are looking on when to buy and when to sell, and not too many are looking to understand that, to actually understand Bitcoin, understanding it will give you a crazy advantage when it comes to investing in it. We will, on average, spend 20 plus years of our lives, like all the hours we spend on the internet put together, we will spend on average 20 plus years of our life on the internet. Understand exactly how digital culture, finance, jobs, and social and opportunities, etc. are evolving should be a priority to everyone. So, this, guys, is actually a masterpiece, guys. This is the Bitcoin white paper. These 9 pages, published in 2019, changed the world forever. This is basically the explanation of what is Bitcoin, published by Satoshi Nakamoto in 2019. So in this paper, as you can see, it's 9 pages. He explained what is Bitcoin and basically like what was his goal while creating Bitcoin. Like most of you guys take some time to read some NFT white papers and stuff, so I think it could actually be interesting for everyone to read the white paper of Bitcoin, because I mean, it's not only super interesting, but it explained the mentality and the philosophy that the founder of Bitcoin had when he created this masterpiece. So the simple definition of Bitcoin is that Bitcoin is a decentralized digital currency not issued or backed by any banks or governments. This is a very basic definition, but it's important to understand every single term in this definition. Also, keep in mind that Bitcoin has a total supply and will always be 21 million coins issued by miners over time. We will explain this as well as we go. The reasoning behind why Satoshi Nakamoto chose the 21 million supply limit may have been done purposely for a number of reasons. According to an email between Mike Hearn and Nakamoto, however, the Bitcoin network inventor chose the 21 million limit number so it would align with the M1 money supply of fiat currencies like the euro and US dollars. Back in 2008, the M1 money supply was approximately 21 trillion when Nakamoto published the white paper. As we saw earlier, after that, of course, the M1 money supply went up like crazy, and the Fed and every government has been printing like crazy since then. But that's one of the advantages of Bitcoin. The total supply will always only be 21 million coins. Then, Bitcoin works as a purely peer-to-peer electronic currency, meaning that payments are sent directly from one person to another. If you are looking to send Bitcoin to someone else all around the world, you literally need the approbation of no one. You can just do it directly, peer-to-peer, without any bank or any government or anything like that controlling your money. Also, unlike centralized entities like Google, where, for example, the whole internet is hosted in servers in their own data centers, controlled and secured by single entities. So, for example, as you might know, like the whole internet is stored within the Google data centers, right? So if anything happened to those data centers, the whole internet would just collapse. And that's crazy, but so much power is held within the hands of one single entity. So unlike that, Bitcoin and Bitcoin has no servers, right? Anyone in the world can plug its computing power, so anyone in the world, like you, me, or anyone else, can just plug his computer, to simplify it, to the Bitcoin system and contribute to verify transaction and contribute to the functioning of Bitcoin. So that's what's crazy, and this is what we call decentralization. Like, this is very, very important, guys. There is not one single server or one single place where Bitcoin transactions are verified. It's literally every single person who connects his laptop or his computing power to the network that we call blockchain, that becomes part of the blockchain and that can verify transaction. So to shut off Bitcoin, you need literally every single person who is connected to the network to close their computers at the same time, which is very, very, very unlikely, or at least way less unlikely than what we saw earlier with when all the servers are hosted in one data center, or even in a few. So I would actually recommend this video for any newcomers to understand what Bitcoin mining is. But Bitcoin mining is the process of creating new Bitcoin by solving puzzles. It consists of computing systems equipped with specialized chips competing to solve mathematical puzzles. The first Bitcoin miner, as these systems are called, to solve the puzzle is rewarded with Bitcoin. The minting process also confirms transactions on the cryptocurrencies network and makes them trustworthy. So if you want to go deeper on what is Bitcoin, I recommend this link. It will be available to anyone in this presentation. The link is also down here below. But basically what we saw earlier right here, when I told you that literally anyone can plug his computing power to the network and verify transaction, you get rewarded with Bitcoin. And that's how the system works. That's what we call Bitcoin mining. It's not actually going into a mine and just mining, right? But we call it like this because this is the process that creates new Bitcoins. Or at least not create them. Like, as I told you, there will always be a total supply of 21 million. But not the 21 million are available and are on the market right now. So more and more Bitcoin is minted through this process by literally anyone. It can be you and I over time, where every single time they verify a transaction on the network. So this, right now, you kind of get an idea of what is decentralization, right? So there is no one who controls Bitcoin, no one who controls the creation of new Bitcoin, no one who controls your transactions because they're peer-to-peer, and no one who can stop or change the system. Bitcoin is like a living being. Bitcoin is a system that's working, is there, like it's doing its thing, it's growing every day when new users and new mining when new people are verifying transactions, and it's just worked that way. And all this stuff has been thought in advance by Satoshi Nakamoto. So so maybe you have kind of a global idea of what it is, but now let's deep dive on what problems do Bitcoin solve. So first, the financial censorship and financial custody, financial sovereignty, and the problem of money printing to fund wars, steal savings, and illegal grow government power through hidden unconstitutional taxation, boils in, boils out, too big to fail, etc. So let's see some of the problems that Bitcoin solved, because maybe you heard this on Twitter, but Bitcoin solves this is actually a very common like joke that people throw around. So, can't access your money? Bitcoin solved this. Like, if your money is stuck, for example, at the bank, like we saw in Canada or in governments where, for example, the banks where the economy is failing, for example, in Greece a few years ago, in Lebanon, etc. Sometimes the banks don't allow people to withdraw all their money at once. Then this is not possible with Bitcoin. Also, bank imposing withdrawal limits, Bitcoin solves this. Printing a bit heap of money is a very short term solution, followed by a very big long-term problem. And again, Bitcoin solves this. The number displaying in your bank account doesn't exist. Take possession of it, exchange it for Bitcoin, and experience how taking full custody of your money feels like. Also, maybe you guys follow the events that has been taking place in Canada recently. Like for example, with the huge riots and stuff. The Canadian government freeze the bank accounts of everyone who were involved in those riots and stuff. And again, Bitcoin solves this because Bitcoin is decentralized. Also, Bitcoin is a system where trust is distributed into the whole community instead of invested in one central authority. This is the problem the white paper sets out to solve. The problem with trusting a central authority is that history has proven time and time again that they eventually violate that trust. Countries at times default on their loans and hyperinflate their currency. For example, what happened recently, but there are also a few more links here that will be available for you when you look back at this presentation. Banks have been forced to give depositors haircuts or limit withdrawals. Digital assets issuers with a focus on autonomy have been shut down with no reimbursement for enabling money laundering. But if you look at the properties of Bitcoin, it has taken off since been founded on multiplied in value because the problem it solves is scarcity. People trust that the 21 million cap will remain in place. They trust that less and less Bitcoin will be minted over the years, and that is something that cannot be replicated with any real assets which are subject to mining supply that changes based on the market value. So what's crazy with Bitcoin is that the rules are set. The 21 million cap is set and will never change, and no one can alter the rules, and no one will eventually change that, right? It's just set. That's just the way Bitcoin works. Bitcoin also solves the issue of trust in the money issuers. Like Satoshi Nakamoto said, the root problem with conventional currency is that all the trust that's required to make it work. Is all the trust that's required to make it work. The central bank must be trusted not to debase the currency, but the history of fiat currencies is full of breaches of that trust. Banks must be trusted to hold our money and transfer it electronically, but they lend it out in waves of credit bubbles with barely a fraction in reserve. Bitcoin is an open, decentralized protocol that no one can control. Bitcoin is your protection from government, economists who refuse to learn the lessons of history. Maybe you know that, guys, but yeah, we talked about this very briefly, but the number you see on your bank application, you don't actually, the bank doesn't have that money. It lends it out and it uses your money. Right? And so sometimes they just use it in the wrong way and they lose it, and then you don't actually own your money. So Bitcoin deletes two stuff, gets rid of two things in addition to everything we said. It's trust, because you own your money, and then you become owner of your money. So it gives you ownership and accountability over your stuff, over your assets. Bitcoin also solves the double spending problem without need of third trusted parties, and on top of everything else, it cannot be counterfeited. So these are big. Inflation also. So these you can come back to read all of this, but basically what you have to keep in mind is that crypto, and this is a quote of mine actually, crypto is the separation of money and state. Headache 2022. Key takeaways. Launched in 2009, Bitcoin is the world's largest cryptocurrency by market cap. Unlike fiat currency, Bitcoin is created, distributed, traded, and stored with the use of a centralized ledger system known as a blockchain. Bitcoin's history as a store of value has been turbulent. It has gone through several cycles of booms and busts over its relatively short lifespan. As the earliest virtual currency to meet widespread popularity and success, Bitcoin has inspired a host of other cryptocurrencies in its wake. So, I hope that by now you have a much clearer idea of what is Bitcoin. But the one question we didn't answer is, who is this guy? Who is Satoshi Nakamoto, the founder and creator of Bitcoin? Legend says that Satoshi Nakamoto has a wallet of 1 million tokens, so 1 million coins that he never touched. His wallet is worth approximately $61 billion today, which makes him one of the richest person on earth, but still no one actually knows the true identity of Satoshi Nakamoto. No one knows who invented Bitcoin, or at least not conclusively. Satoshi Nakamoto is the name associated with a person or group of people who released the original Bitcoin white paper in 2008 and worked on the original Bitcoin software that was released in 2009. In the years since then, many individuals have either claimed to be or been rumored to be the real life people behind the pseudonym, but as of today, March 2022, the true identity or identities of Satoshi Nakamoto remain obscured. Although it is tempting to believe the media spin that Satoshi Nakamoto is a solitary, quixotic genius who created Bitcoin out of thin air, such inventions do not typically happen in a vacuum. All major scientific discoveries, no matter how seemingly original, were built on previous existing research. So if you look up Satoshi Nakamoto on Google, you might find a picture of this guy, and this picture is actually used pretty often to speak about Satoshi Nakamoto. But as we said, we literally have no proof that this is him. There are a few possible motivations for Bitcoin's inventor to keep their identity secret. One is privacy. As Bitcoin has gained in popularity, becoming something of a worldwide phenomenon, Satoshi Nakamoto would likely garner a lot of attention from the media and governments. Another reason could be the potential for Bitcoin to cause a major disruption in the current banking and monetary systems. If Bitcoin were to gain mass adoptions, the system could surpass nations' sovereign fiat currencies. This threat to existing currency could motivate government to want to take legal actions against Bitcoin creator. So really no one really knows who is the Satoshi Nakamoto guy, but the fact that he remained anonymous tells us a lot about his vision for Bitcoin. He saw this as he saw his invention that was created in 2009, and it was tiny at the time, right? It's not something that everyone noticed right away, but he already saw it as something that could literally disrupt fiat currencies and the current fiat system that we have right now. He had big ambitions for his project, and the fact that he stayed anonymous, it created this culture of mystery and of legend. It made him literally a legend for everyone who's aware of his story. The other reason also is safety, right? Looking at 2009 alone, 32,000 blocks were minted, and the reward rate of 50 Bitcoin per block. So at the time, guys, every single transaction successfully verified could bring you 50 Bitcoin per transaction. The total payout in 2009 was 1,624,500 Bitcoin. One may conclude that only Satoshi and perhaps a few other people were mining through 2009, and that they possesses a majority of that stash of Bitcoin. Also, there are a lot of crazy stories about who is this guy. Is there a Bitcoin connection between the CIA and Satoshi Nakamoto? Or also one of the craziest legend or craziest mystery I saw out there. What if Satoshi were a time traveler? Like, people think that what he created is so big and it changed the path of history forever, and thus this guy must be someone coming from the future, you know, and with the knowledge of what is Bitcoin, what is centralized money, created this and just bounced or something like that. But as we say times and times now, no one still knows who is Satoshi Nakamoto, and basically the mystery, planning around his identity, makes it literally legendary and contributes to the legend around his name and around his project. Remember when we say that when you invest in stocks, when you are investing in stocks, you actually invest in companies, and that what if your stock is doing amazing and one day out of nowhere the founder of your stock just dies or passes away? Then this can never happen with Bitcoin, because no one knows who created Bitcoin. So this guy can never have any influence on the technology, right? Like, people judge it not based on who created it, but on what is actually Bitcoin. Also, as we said, many people try to impersonate Satoshi Nakamoto. Many people claim they were Satoshi Nakamoto. Mainly this guy, Craig Stephen Wright. So Craig Stephen Wright is some guy who actually who came up to the world and claimed to be Satoshi Nakamoto for years. He opened a huge he opened a bunch of stuff with legal stuff, trying to claim that it is him, trying to claim ownership over the wallet with 1 million Bitcoin. But, and this is actually insane, guys, this is so beautiful and contributes to the story of it. So why we think that it's not him, because anyone can actually prove that they are Satoshi Nakamoto. To prove that you are Satoshi Nakamoto, it only takes from you to reactivate the wallet that owns the 1 million Bitcoin and to just send literally 0.001 Bitcoin to yourself. Whoever does that will prove that he is Satoshi Nakamoto. However, no one did. And the wallet that we talked about, so the wallet with 1 million Bitcoin, was not activated in years and years now. It was actually never activated since 2009. And one crazy stuff, because this Craig Stephen Wright polemic became too big. This guy who claimed to be Satoshi Nakamoto, this claim became too big, and it actually started to hurt the project. So one day, guy, out of nowhere, the wallet with 1 million Bitcoin, so Satoshi Nakamoto's wallet, was activated out of nowhere, and it sent out this beautiful message into the blockchain. The message says, Craig Stephen Wright is a liar and a fraud. He doesn't have the keys used to sign this message. The Lightning Network is a significant achievement. However, we need to continue work and improving on-chain capacity. Unfortunately, the solution is not to just change a constant in the code or to allow powerful participants to force out others. And he ended up with what will stay as one of the literally the most beautiful story in the history of Bitcoin, and this sentence will stay also in history, guys. We are all Satoshi. So this is how he concluded this message to prove that Craig Stephen was a liar and a fraud, and this is how he explained who is Satoshi. So the answer to this question is, we are all Satoshi, guys. Because as we explained earlier, Bitcoin is a decentralized network. Anyone, literally anyone, can plug into the network and just use their plug in their computing power, so their computer or just a graphic chart, and verify transactions on the network and become part of it. So the question of who is Satoshi Nakamoto doesn't even matter. And that's what makes it beautiful, guys. This guy, whoever it was who created this, hid his identity for years now, and everyone is trying to find out who it is, but that literally doesn't matter. It's even more beautiful to think that the creator, that Bitcoin is not held by one single person, but rather that it's held by every single person who uses the network. And in this way, indeed, we are all Satoshi. Beautiful, guys. We'll talk about this more later, or even in private, because this is one of the most beautiful philosophical aspects of Bitcoin. Okay, guys, so now you kind of have an understanding of what is Bitcoin, how it works, more or less, right? Not in details, but more or less. And of course, you know who is Satoshi, or at least you know that we are all Satoshi. So let's talk about the current macro context of Bitcoin and the role of digital assets in World War III. Of course, guys, I'm using World War III as a clickbait, right? So we are not in World War III right now. It could escalate into that, but it's not what it is right now. I'm talking about the context of the war between Ukraine and Russia, and Vladimir Putin invading Ukraine, or okay, you know what I mean, right? I'm not taking any side on this conflict. Of course, I kind of stand with Ukraine, but I also understand the point of view or the story that Putin is trying to tell. So I really don't want to take any side on this, and I'm not gonna talk politics in this chapter. We're rather gonna talk about the role of digital assets in World War III and how they could evolve. So, on the day of the invasion, maybe even one day before, Alex Baker, who is an amazing trader, shared this tweet. It's funny that the market is at max fear and we are at 38,000 Bitcoin and 2.7k ETH. ETH was 100 not too long ago. Crypto has come a long way. To the blunt, the current prices in his eyes with rate in March, war narrative, etc. are great. The macro environment of crypto is still better than it's ever been in history. We have states, countries making it currency, every corporation adopting, etc., etc. I was extremely bearish in the May dip because nothing mainstream was happening. There was no macro trend, no countries, no big investors, etc. This just isn't the case right now. This reminds me of the COVID crash where the price had nothing to do with the macro reality. So this is a very interesting tweet sent out by Alex Baker a few days ago, followed by this graph. So the only way America, so this is a graph of the evolution of the American economy after a few wars. And so there is this phenomenon actually known by investors called by the invasion. Because basically every time that the US invades another country, there is a huge temporary dip. And right after that, one day after the invasion or on the few days following the invasions, the price starts to shoot back up. And we actually saw this play out with the current invasion of Ukraine. Right now, right now the price of Bitcoin at the time I'm giving this presentation is $44,000. Right? This is insane. One day before, I remind you that it was at 38k, right? And right now it's at 44k. So if you actually bought the invasion, like history shows, then you would have made an insane gain already. And so this is super counterintuitive. Like, I wouldn't think that an invasion is actually bullish for assets and for Bitcoin and stocks in general and the markets in general, but it is. The reason behind that, like, you're gonna try to understand the reasons behind that. So, one thing that is said is that the only way America can pay for a war is with more money printing. We are broke, guys. Like, we saw the American debt earlier. There's also been a big dump at the start of almost any war, followed by a boom, aka I wouldn't count the market, stock or crypto, dead yet. So this is just also about the macro environment. So what we see right now is that Bitcoin is pumping while gold is dumping. Gold actually used to be for a long time like a store of value for every war. At the beginning of every war, the price of gold used to go up and up because it was like this hedge, you know, against everything that's happening. It was supposed to be like a relatively safe asset. It was supposed to be an asset where you go in war times because like it's safe, like you know that you're not gonna get ducked by banks, etc. And so many people used to invest in gold at war times. However, today and on the recent days, we've seen Bitcoin pumping while gold is dumping. Very interesting phenomena. Also, we see that the whole world is actually reacting to Putin's invasion of Ukraine. For example, we saw the President Biden unleashing a devastating package of sanctions on Russia. As we see on this tweet, like he's saying that he's meeting with G7 counterparts to discuss Putin's unjustified attack on Ukraine, and he agreed to move forward on a devastating package of sanctions and other economic measures to hold Russia to account. The goal here is to control the money inflows and outflows into Russia through banking, right? We also see the rest of the world like reacting as well. For example, Boris Johnson unveils largest ever sanctions package against Russia, where, as we can see, they stopped the SWIFT system. So messaging, but these are both twice the same, but still it's fine. So Boris Johnson's Britain's Prime Minister said it would be. Said it would ban Russia's largest airline from the country. He also said export controls would be applied to high-tech equipment earlier. And of course, one of the big things that we heard a lot is that he would cut off Russia from the SWIFT system. So SWIFT is the messaging network used by banks to make cross-border payments possible, right? And so basically, the Western world is cutting literally Russia from SWIFT and from their economy. So now let's try to put ourselves in the shoes of Russian oligarch, right? Like let's just do it. So one thing we saw is that Russia could use cryptocurrency to blunt the forces of US sanctions. When the United States barred Americans from doing business with Russia banks, oil and gas developers, and other companies in 2014, after the country's invasion of Crimea, the hit to Russia's economy was swift and immense. Economists estimated that sanctions imposed by Western nations cost Russia $15 billion a year. So, if you were running a banking, oil or gas company, would you be willing to lose money for this? Or would you just say, you know what, okay, I'll just pay me in crypto and continue on with your business? Like, crypto is actually quite an obvious solution for Russia, and they're actually working on that. Russia's Ministry of Finance submitted a Bitcoin bill proposal, and basically the way they're doing is that the Russian Ministry of Finance submitted a bill proposal to essentially make BTC a legal investment vehicle within the country. So keep in mind that I don't want people to use it for payment necessarily, but you can use it as an investment and as a store of wealth. So because because the rupee is going down, like the Russian rupee, the value of the Russian rupee is going down because many assets from Russians were freezed across the Western world. So they are allowing, and they actually submitted this proposal and it went through, and so they're allowing Bitcoin as a legal investment vehicle within the country. Also, Ukraine suspended the use of electronic money, so SWIFT to solve that, and on the other side, so that was the Russian side where Russia is turning into crypto, and on the other side, Ukraine central bank introduced its policy too. So they want to protect, so Ukraine also wants to protect its own currency, right? Because the country is at war and they don't want their local currency to just go to zero. So the way they do this is that they don't want you to exchange this money out. So what they do with the Ukrainian currency, like their own currency may very well collapse. So they don't want people to swap the Ukrainian money into a stronger asset class, right? So they're blocking it into the bank account. That's something we talked about earlier. And that is something that is not possible with Bitcoin. Like, no one controls Bitcoin as we saw it earlier, and so it could be an ideal solution for this kind of issues. Another thing is that Russia and its citizens don't need SWIFT if they use crypto. The United States and their allies just announced they are cutting multiple Russian banks off from the SWIFT payment system. The world will never be the same, and alternative payment systems are about to be much more valuable. So if you try to understand the stakes going on here, and like basically like the balance is money going out here. So you have the Russian currency that's going down. You have the Ukrainian currency that's going down. You have a country like Russia where that is being cut off from the worldwide payment system, etc. So in this exact situation, Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies, but mainly Bitcoin because it's the biggest and most safe one, is actually starting to be like a very, very interesting alternative payment system for both sides. And this is game changing. This was never the case before. It feels like a real turning point for fiat and currencies globally. A country that is currently engaged in a violent comeback to preserve its sovereignty and freedom is publicly soliciting Bitcoin and crypto donations. Hard to imagine this just a few years ago. So maybe some of you have seen this tweet, etc. So the government of Ukraine, so the actual Ukraine government, is soliciting tips. And not tips, but Bitcoin and crypto donations. And why crypto? Because of course it's way easier to send crypto than any other currency, right? And I mean, isn't this the use case for cryptocurrencies in general and everything we're seeing? Getting around economic sanctions, making crypto one of the most militarily weapon around. Any country in the world is going to want to hold on cryptocurrency. This could start a new era of economic warfare in which crypto will play a key pivotal role. This is a small meme, right? Like the Dutch bank Credit Suisse, UBC and HSBC bankers working non-stop to present their Russian oligarch clients with ways to sidestep financial sanctions. This is what's going on. It's not really funny. It's kind of sad, but the meme is funny. The dog is funny. And so, weaponizing the SWIFT international payment system might cut Russia off, but risks eroding the dollar-dominated global financial. But it risks to erode the dollar-dominating global financial system. Indeed, it will give rise to alternative systems developed by China and Russia. Just another example of why sanctions are counterproductive. So what he's saying is that, not what he's saying, but what is currently playing out right now in the world is that basically like people are starting to realize, and people in other systems and in other countries than the US are starting to realize that that they were too much dependent on the US dollars, and they are starting to think of a new global financial system. One that would accept everyone, because Bitcoin doesn't look at who you are before when you enter the network, right? Anyone, no matter how old they are, how like where they are currently or in the world, or where they come from, can use Bitcoin and can use the blockchain. It's also decentralized, so not controlled by one specific person, and so it's turning out to be key solutions for governments like China and Russia, who are looking to be less and less to rely less and less on the US dollar and on other specific currencies. Also, what we are seeing right now is that EU lawmakers are postponing vote to reevaluate Bitcoin and proof of work restrictions. So there were a lot of FUD, following what was happening. So FUD is fear, uncertainty, and doubt. So remember a few months ago, like the craziest stuff or the worst stuff that could happen to Bitcoin investors was that the Europe and the US were about to regulate crypto. And right now, unfortunately, like we're living through a war, maybe potentially World War III even. And so all these restrictions are being postponed, and so it's giving crypto a new purpose in a way. Also, the Bitcoin Russian ruble trading volume reached a 9-month high. So a bunch of Russian ruble is being traded for Bitcoin, and this is in line with what we have been saying so far. Also, there are less dollars to go around. The US personal savings rate has tripped it back to 6.4, leaving less of a cushion against higher energy prices. Consumers were already not much in a spending mood anyway, but consumer sentiment was at a 10-year low, and we can now add the war to the below list of deflationary worries from a University of Michigan survey. So people are saving kind of more and more, and are spending less and less, and you have this stuff's coming. And so, following everything we said, so the contest, the role digital assets might play in the future, following what is currently happening. So I would like to tell everyone: stop chilling Bitcoin, stop chilling NFTs. This is not how we get crypto to go up. Clearly, the best way to make it go up is to troll Western government into locking down access to their financial systems via protest and nonsense wars to trigger Bitcoin panic buys. So of course, this is a meme, guys. We're just joking. The situation is actually very sad and very it's actually very sad and unopportune, and people are actually dying, civilians and people who did nothing are dying. Russians who did nothing are the whole Russian people is suffering from what one guy at the top of the country, one leader, is doing. It's a very sad and bad situation, but this is just the context. This is just the financials of what's going on, the role that Bitcoin might play in this war. And I truly think that basically Bitcoin and digital assets will change forever the way people make war to one another, because it will forever decrease the impact of financial restrictions, and it will just that basically going forward, financial restrictions, and this is something that the US was very, very used to do, will be less and less effective, because right now the world and governments like Russia and China, for example, these are just random examples, have the ability to switch to a decentralized a financial system where they are completely free from restrictions, etc., etc. As we said earlier, imagine you are running an oil, gas, or bank company, right? Like financial company in Russia. Would you just start losing billions of dollars a year? Would you just stop doing business, or would you just start accepting crypto? Like be like fuck it, like, yeah, I'll just keep crypto going forward. And this is the same for every bank oligarch, like all these guys, as we saw, like the Russian ruble, the Bitcoin Russian ruble trading volume reached a 9-month high. It might still go up. They have all their assets frozen by banks, by governments, but Bitcoin actually solves this once again. So with Bitcoin, your assets cannot be frozen. You own your assets if you have them on a ledger or something like that. So very interesting. And let's end up to the meme. So we talked about the Ukrainian government raising donations in crypto and in digital money. So this is also one advantage of Bitcoin over gold. Peter Schiff is someone who loves gold. He's been sharing gold for years and years now, and so imagine donating gold to the Ukrainians. Like this is what it would look like just taking a chip and moving gold. Because yeah, one of the other advantage of Bitcoin and crypto in general is that it's on the internet. Just that is one of the greatest argument out there. Is that it's digital, it's peer-to-peer, no one is controlling it, and you can basically send crypto to anyone in the world within seconds. Within seconds, you can make a payment of $1 trillion from the US to Australia in 1 second. That is not possible with any other asset class, with any other thing. Like even with the banking system, you know the struggle of not being able to transfer your money during. And it depends of how much money you have, right? But like for literally everyone, there is no restriction. No one controlling your money, and you own it, and you can send it. You can donate it to Ukraine. By the way, the addresses we shared earlier are the right addresses. You can donate your crypto out there, and so this is not possible with gold. Final chapter, guys. 5 out of 5. So life-changing opportunity. You should already start to understand so far we saw what it means to invest your money, right? We went through different asset classes. We explained like the difference between all of them, and ultimately why I believe crypto is the best. We also explained like more or less what is Bitcoin. I shared with you links to go deeper in the subject, to understand really mining way deeper, to understand exactly how it is being done. You can come back to this presentation to figure out to watch those videos. They're short videos but very interesting. All the links are also under the slides. And now it's time to explain how you and literally everyone can change their life with crypto. So one crazy thing is that as of a few days ago, as of today, March 2nd, 76.5% of Bitcoin supply hasn't moved in at least 6 months. A new record. Like 76% of the supply is just being hodled. MasterCard is reportedly looking to hire 500 people to accelerate their adoption of crypto and open banking. The incumbents will either adapt or die. Japan's biggest bank, Mitsubishi UFJ, to launch its own crypto and NFT wallet. The bank announced the development of digital asset wallet on its website. No. Even, guys, this is crazy, but even Charlie Munger, the associate of what was his name again? We talked about him earlier. Sorry, like he's one of the greatest investors in all time. But this guy, wait, I have to find his name. It's actually bad. But this guy is basically the co-founder, in a way, of Warren Buffett. Warren Buffett, obviously. So Warren Buffett's best buddy, in a way, just say that the safe assumption for an investor is that over the next 100 years, the fiat currency is going to zero, guys. This is a huge statement. The fiat currency is basically the M1 money supply, as we saw earlier, and so this guy who is Buffett's best buddy just made a statement that the safe assumption, though, so it's safer. So the safe assumption for an investor is that over the next 100 years, the fiat currency is going to zero. Why? Because of everything we talked about already, because of all the advantages of digital assets, and because the governments are ultimately gonna duck up, guys. Like at some point or another, they're gonna end up ducking us all and acting irresponsibly with the money supply, the same way we saw with the COVID crisis. In my opinion, right, this is also kind of political, but in my opinion, the way the Biden government printed money during to answer the COVID crisis was truly oriented to basically it was done, to make everyone happy, to solve the COVID issues, and basically just to praise the mandate of Biden in itself, right? So it was just, in my opinion, again, just a way for that party and the Biden administration to look good, right? In a way that they solved the COVID crisis. And so what I don't like with the current political system is that most administrations are mostly looking at being re-elected and are mostly looking at elections, like the elections 4 years from now, than looking long term. As we saw, printing money and acting irresponsibly like that is a short-term solution that fixes short-term issues, but that have huge consequences long-term. And this is one of the reason why over the next 100 of years, Charlie Munger said that fiat currency could go to zero. Also, keep this in mind. If Bitcoin reaches the market cap of gold, so if Bitcoin just becomes as big as gold, which is let's just say that if it happens, one Bitcoin would be worth $575,000. Bitcoin is a distributed financial system. Gold is a yellow rock. This is quite funny. Bitcoin is a huge financial system. It's decentralized and everything we talked about, while gold is just a yellow rock. Kind of crazy what's happening. Kind of crazy that gold hit this high of a valuation when it's so much when it's based so much on prediction in a way, right? It doesn't have it doesn't have a value on its own. It cannot be traded or moved around easily compared to Bitcoin, at least. Also, it's amazing that Bitcoin is available for sale at 40k. People are literally selling an asset that has a 94.5% chance of hitting 400k at least once by 2026. Insane when you really think about it. So within the next 5 years, Bitcoin is very likely to hit this such a huge valuation, right? To hit the valuation of gold at least once, and people are selling it right now when it goes down 10% or 20% even. If you look back at this, it's actually crazy. And so I will come back to this post on a forum posted years ago by this guy, GameQB, who actually created the concept of hodling. So hodling is the same as holding, right? So this guy is explaining on this post on a forum years ago, that he invented the word hodl, HODL. You maybe heard of this by many gold, diamond hands, quote unquote. And basically, HODL nowadays is used as an acronym for hold on to dear life. But how it started is that this guy posted on this forum that he's not able to time the market. Timing the market is just too hard, guys. Like, it's just very, very hard. He claimed that he is not a good trader. He is a bad trader. And most of us are bad traders, right? It's almost impossible to spot the exact highs and lows of the market. It's very, very hard to time, the good times to enter and the good times to come out. And so what this guy is telling is that he's hodling, so he's holding to his assets and just waiting for them to go up in value. Not just buying every time it goes down a bit and just accumulating more and more Bitcoin, but in general, he's just never selling because he's too scared of selling at the wrong time, buying back at the wrong time again, etc., etc. So one of the best opportunity with literally one of the best rendement over the past 10 years since the creation of Bitcoin has been to literally just buy and hodl, not do anything, not try to time the market, just buy and keep that stuff. Also, I don't think this is stated enough, but at one point, your crypto bag and everything in it will nuke 80 to 90% from its peak, right? Because right now I know that most people out there are down. And so your bag will nuke 80 to 90% from its peak. This market and the way crypto is working is not sustainable. This guy is talking about the value of crypto. It's not sustainable that stuff just goes up and up and up and up and up. It's way better to have a slow and steady growth. #blobs. But basically, what this guy is saying is that this market and the way in crypto is not sustainable. The way the price goes up is not sustainable or realistic. He's not saying now, but he strongly believes that we're going to have the biggest blow off move up later this year, followed by a Great Depression crash. This is fine. It's natural, right? If you watch the price action of Bitcoin over the past 10 years, it has blow off tops and then it trends back down for years. But it never goes back to where it was before the cycle, right? This is just cycle at the end of the day. And so basically, he's saying that we're the way we know that a cycle is done is with a blow of top. At some point later this year, everything, or next year, right? It could be in 2023. But stuff is just gonna go insane. It's just gonna blow up 80 to 90% up from your peak of your wallet, followed by a crash. And it's natural. So much money to be made. But don't take profits for granted, guys. And play the game like a realist, right? Like a realist. Protect yourself. Also, I want you to keep in mind that a bear market or consolidation market, like we are right now in NFTs, for example, that's for another day, but is where you sharpen your skills. Anyone can look like a genius or a great trader in a bull market, as all you have to do is buy a dip. This market is about survival. Also, this is another bullish news, okay? This is so much bullish news, is crazy. So these are the phases of business cycle, but it's also the way crypto and most assets work. So we have a peak and then a tough time. Peak, tough time. Peak, tough time. But as you can see, it trends up over time. And this is exactly what's happening with Bitcoin. And so one thing to keep in mind right now is one thing so the thing we talked about earlier is basically to take profit at the next peak and basically invest over time over the next contraction. Alex Becker, I really love this guy, but he said still here, still building. 2022 is going to be the best time I've ever had in crypto. Come on, geez. When buy, when sell. Guys, this is the most important part. The biggest business revolution ever is happening. You can build in it, make businesses that generate epic revenue and valuation, be bull or bear. $100 to $1 billion exits. Expand your focus beyond trading and gambling or speculation. So guys, I insist, this is like something crazy is happening right now. As he described it himself, the biggest business revolution ever is happening. Anyone, doesn't matter how old you are, even a 13-year-old right now can start a business, pay people in crypto, like make money in crypto, pay his employees in crypto, like in cash. It's literally the United States in 1860, guys, where all you had to do to employ people was to pay them in cash at the end of the day. This is exactly what's happening. It's literally a business revolution, and you can build in it, make businesses with crazy, epic valuations and revenue. 100 to 1 bill doesn't exist in real life. This does not exist in current life. Like, no one can start with $100 and create a 1 billion and exit is like create a business that's worth $1 billion. But in crypto, you can. In crypto, nothing is impossible. You just have to come up with a creative idea and like to put in the hard work and just to do your stuff, guys. Just work hard. Expand your focus beyond trading and gambling or speculation. Very important. Also, just a quick disclaimer, don't take anything on this PREZ for granted. Please, I cannot stress this enough. Do your own research. Always do your own research. And please remember, plan for the worst and hope for the best. If you don't have a plan, this market is ruthless. It will shoo you and spit you out like crazy. Like, no one cares about you personally. Like, the market at least doesn't care about you personally. Like, it's possible that everyone around you makes money, but that you come out broke with zero. So be very careful and always do your own research. Also, one thing that's very important is to say that I'm blessed to have been in the crypto space early. It's a microcosm of today's world. Trust nothing, research everything, and rely solely on your studies to make informed decisions. It's actually a very rewarding space, but also a very interesting space. Like, you learn a lot about everything and about life in general, kind of life. Like, I don't wanna go so deep, but crypto is a very it's a microcosm that basically it replicates life. Like, you learn about life while doing this. So this is a quick shout out to my Twitter, and one of the Twitter posts I posted a few days ago. I would like if you guys go like and retweet this tweet because it means a lot to me. So Bitcoin taught me calm, patience, challenge, consistency, control greed, critical thinking. Big things take time. Learn before you earn. There's always bad day. Control emotions and FOMO. Time is money and our time is finite, and most people want things to be fair. Blessed. Also, this is big, guys. Like, this is actually the most game-changing thing you can learn. Like, if you had to just remember in the life-changing aspect, right? In the life-changing category, if you had to come up with just one slide, is this one. Bull markets can make you money. Bear markets can make you rich. Guys, so let's fucking go. Headache 2022. And of course, you gotta have fun, or it's worth peanuts, boys and girls. Also, Victoria, I love you. So you gotta have fun, or it's not worth it. The presentation has come to an end. I will of course keep improving it over time, working on the slides, and we'll be sharing the slides with everyone. Also, just a quick reminder that the Blob V1 collection is still out. As I always love to say, nobody's perfect, and surely not the blobs. 100 blobs, unique names and shapes, are taking over OpenSea to enjoy the technologies of Web3. This is our this is our project. Literally, we love this project. We've been working hard on this. Sorry for anyone who just joined. I'll just come back on this because it's important for anyone who just joined. He has to read this. Please read this. Like, it's just for you, right? We're doing this just for you, so please read it and enjoy this sentence. But then I was talking about the blobs. This is our description. Nobody is perfect, and surely not the blobs, guys. Our aim is to grow across multiple networks and while gathering an inclusive community of 100 like-minded humans with no hierarchy. One blob is 1% ownership over a sandbox, premium sandbox land. The BLOBVERSE, here are the coordinates on the sandbox map. Supply just 100, mint is ridiculous, 0.025, and you get free airdrops of V2, V3, V4, etc. We have no websites, don't fall for scams yet, but soon we will, but not yet. And FYI, blob are unique, special, emotional creators, often made fun of because of their unconventional features that are actually loyal friends and ready to give back. This is what they look at. This is what they look like. The art is 100% authentic. It was made by me. I didn't employ someone on Upwork or anything like that. I just did it myself. The goal behind it is really to gather a community behind these guys. They all have unique names, as you can see. They're more funny than anything else. I'm not claiming to be the greatest artist out there. The artwork is literally just a pass to join the community and become part of us. And of course, you will see the artwork evolve and get better and better and better throughout the next versions. This is our mint roadmap, so the blob story. Right now we reached this one, so we revealed the blobverse as I showed you the coordinates of our map on the sandbox map. And yeah, this is still to go, guys. So hop on OpenSea, let's have fun. The OpenSea hashtag wwIII, simple name. And yeah, Q&A. Thank you for everyone who has been following this on Discord. Thank you so much, guys. My blobs, yeah, because this is also streaming live on blobs. But thank you to everyone watching on YouTube. I hope you enjoyed this. Presentation. Slides are available in description. They will be improved over time, and every link, etc., will be referenced in the end of the presentation. Please enjoy it. It's completely free. Get the best out of it, and of course, buy Bitcoin. Buy a lot of Bitcoin and get the blob.